Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Chelsea Kafer, and I'm the Client Marketing Specialist here at SPLICE. I'll be your MC for this presentation today. I'd like to start by opening with a few housekeeping items. Our webinar today will be 45 minutes in length, and all questions will be facilitated through the Q&A window that should appear on the right side of your screen. You may submit your questions or comments at any time during the presentation, so there's no need to hang on to them until the end. However, all questions will be addressed during the allotted time at the end of the presentation. The recording and slides will be provided within 7 days, and we hope that you'll feel free to share them throughout your organization. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker. Tracy Bradley is the Director of Client Success at SPLICE Software. Tracy joined the SPLICE team in 2012 to lead the Client Success team and to provide valued client input for business and product development. Prior to SPLICE, Tracy perfected her communications expertise through senior-level project management and marketing positions at Kirk Marketing, The Brick, and CFCW. Her contributions extend to the community as well, as a current board member and Vice President of Marketing at the Credit Institute of Canada, Calgary chapter. Tracy holds a Bachelor of Commerce in Marketing from the University of Alberta and has attended many additional professional courses in leadership, customer service, and negotiations. Off to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Chelsea, and welcome everyone to our webinar today. So to start with a quick overview of our agenda, we're going to start with a little bit of a discussion around a data insight. So what does that word mean, insight? And how can we create and use an insight to actually drive some business value? Then we're going to jump right into a demo of the Dialog dashboard. Some of you may have seen this before, some of you maybe not. So we're going to walk through all the way through, understanding what it looks like and the learnings that you get from it. So there's some great opportunities in there to get some sales analysis and campaign comparisons that aren't provided on a per campaign basis with your reporting packages right now. And then we're going to open up the floor to questions. So as Chelsea mentioned, we do have the Q&A tab. You should see it on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. I would recommend that throughout the presentation, please feel free to log your questions there as we go. We'll address them all at the end, but if something pops into your head, we're going to talk about a variety of different things. And in order for you not to lose that, go ahead and log it when it does come to you. So let's move into what is a data insight. Well, let's just start with the definition. The definition of an insight is an actionable, data-driven finding that creates business value. As you see, we've highlighted there the most important factor there, which is creating business value. So let's dig down into that a little bit more. We should consider that we've had more data than we can reasonably use for a while now. Just on the marketing front alone, it isn't uncommon to see reports overflowing with data and benchmarks drawn from millions of underlying data points covering existing channels like display, email, websites, search, point of sale, loyalty. And then, of course, we continue to get new data streams as well from all the social and mobile engagement, online reviews and comments and ratings. We're even at the point where we're looking at location check-ins and more. So the amount of data that we have is not our limitation for sure. But what is commonly misunderstood is that just because we have data, especially big data, so that's that massive data out in the universe that can feed insights, it doesn't mean that it is an insight. So before we even get into using the Dialog dashboard, I just want to point out a couple really important factors when we're talking about data and strategizing how we build our data plans so that we know that we are getting data that then can be used for a data insight. So the first step is to collect good data. It is the foundation of building business value. So we need to be able to identify which data we want to collect that is actually going to drive insights. So something that we commonly use as just a reference at SPLICE is we can personalize your scripts up to everything down to the hair color of the store manager. And now, of course, you wouldn't necessarily want a script that is personalized with the hair color of the store manager because it's not something that is particularly going to add value to the people who are listening to that message. And so when we talk about good data, we're really talking about understanding what we're trying to accomplish with any given communication program and making sure that we start at the beginning and track the right data that we know can help us make future decisions all the way through. Now, good data also ties into the next point, which is connected data. So we talked about a whole bunch of different sources of data already, and I went through them pretty quickly, but I bet you can sit there right now and say, I know 8 different sources of data for me right now where my customers are providing different pieces of information. Making sure that that data is connected is really what's going to create power in generating those insights. So again, if I have just my point of sale information, I have a limited amount of insights I can get. I have a limited view of the customer. Whereas if I can connect that data with their online shopping habits, with their participation in the VIP loyalty programs, then I have a lot more power in creating insights in different areas of the business. Thirdly is the data management policies. So again, we have a lot of data. We've talked about how to get good data, how to get it connected, but if we don't have policies in place to make sure that that data is managed properly, then it's going to end up in a whole bunch of different places and not in a position to create an insight for us. So I just quickly want to touch on the an API here. We have a lot of different, we have a API white paper and some information around that's like just automatically connecting all of your data sources, and so the policies are built in computer logic instead of having a person manage a bunch of data management protocols. And there are a variety of APIs that exist in the business world today. Most of your vendors will have an opportunity for that, from email service providers to really any kind of software deployment, whether you're looking at something bigger like a Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Oracle, anything like that. All of these APIs have been pre-built by most of the tech companies out there today to ease and streamline that data flow. And so I would encourage you to reach out to your vendors in those scenarios and say, hey, why are we doing stuff manually? We want to make sure that we are communicating with our data as automated as possible. And finally, collaborative analysis. So what I'm hoping is that you can see if we have good data, plus it's connected, plus we have a good data management policy, then really we have that opportunity for collaborative analysis. We can start to use all of that data in a collaborative way and start to get learnings not just probably for our department, but for the general business as a whole. And we can start to make some better business decisions. So that really leads to the discovery, which is where we're driving with an insight. So we have to work all the way through that process to get to the discovery point before we really are at an insight. So before we panic too much and we say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of work, I have a lot of data, it's not connected, I don't know what to do with it, we're just going to move into a little bit more of understanding of what we at SPLICE have developed to help you specifically with that in mind. So what you're looking at here just is a screenshot of how you can navigate to the dashboard if you need to do so. So when you go into the portal for most of your campaigns, you are going to default into that Director tab, which is the one you see on the far left, and the dashboard is on the far right. Now, some of you may see this as being grayed out for you right now based on the fact that you do not have access to it right now. I would say feel free to contact me. I can turn it on in a demo environment for you, and we can go ahead and start giving you that opportunity to see what that looks like. So I'm just going to flip to the live dashboard here. Looks pretty much exactly the same. And we're just going to do a quick walkthrough of the different opportunities for data analysis and data insights that we do have on here. So starting with the landing page, what you will see is that the number one thing we are trying to provide you guys insights around here is a sales analysis. So as soon as you go into the dashboard, you're going to see our sales analysis tool. Right now we're looking at, as I mentioned, a demo environment. So all of these campaigns have happened in the past. We have sales data mapped to each and every one. And we will get to how do you load that data as we go through. But I want to just point out to you a couple important things on this grid. So on what we're looking at here in terms of the bar chart is the number of calls that have been made. So there are different types of campaigns that each of our clients run, different types of calls, maybe different numbers of stores, and so the bars are showing how many calls were made for that specific event. The dots, oh, one quick thing, if you hover over this, it will tell you all that information. So it will tell you that it was calls, it will tell you the event name, and it will tell you the approximate number of calls. If we just hold on for a second, I will show you where you get the exact number of calls. And the little dot at the top is the sales analysis. So once we've done that sales match back with the sales data, it gets plotted on this grid as well. And again, you can see it's identified when you hover over it, sales, the event date, and the total sales amount. Now, it's important to note that this total sales amount is the sales amount that is tied to the number of calls that were made. So we made approximately 100,000 calls, and those 100,000 calls generated $323,000 worth of business. So this is not an overall sale that you have gotten for the campaign. It is the sales that are specifically matched to the people who were called. To get a little bit more information on a single campaign, all you need to do is click on the bar, and it's going to pop open a whole bunch of information. Now, a lot of this information is similar to stuff that you would see in your PDF reports right now on a per campaign basis, and some of it is new. What you see in the top left here is the listenership chart. It looks a little bit different than what you see in your PDF reports. It's just fully colored in green. Here we just have the green line, but what it is showing you, same thing as every listener report you have seen, it shows you when people are hanging up the phone. So obviously the goal is for us to see something like this, where the majority of people are hanging up at the end of the message because they've gotten all the information they need to get. Something additional you get in the dashboard view is the script. So when you get your PDF reports right now, you have your listenership graph, and it is not connected to the script. You could print out your script, and you could print out your reports and see them next to each other, but we thought we could make this a little bit easier for you guys, and here it is right next to the listenership chart. So you can get a better idea of where those peaks and valleys start to exist. And this becomes a bigger piece when we talk about the campaign comparison, which we will get to in just a little bit. So what you can see here at the top is the total number of calls, and that relates back to what we saw in the table on the landing page, as well as the total sales. So as I mentioned, this has already been pre-mapped. We have some general information, campaign dates, and the listenership percentages, so same as you currently see on your campaign reports. Now we have a couple of additional things that live here as well. If you are running additional channels for your VIP events, some of our clients are, some of our clients aren't, there is the opportunity to add those counts to this campaign as well. So we'll get to matching back in a minute. So SPLICE can facilitate an automatic update of this if we do have the data, but in the scenario that we don't have the data, you can still create that data source for you and for the comparison just by clicking this edit button and typing in the number of emails. So if you know that you've sent 100,000 calls and you've also sent 100,000 emails, you can just go ahead and click 100,000, click save, and there it goes. You get a little confirmation at the top that says your email data has been saved. If you made a typo, go back in, make a change, and so you have full control over any of the categories that say edit. So even in the case of the sales matchback, which is something that SPLICE is facilitating as part of the dashboard, if that's something that you already have, so let's say you work with a third-party data company. We have quite a few clients that do that, and they are doing the matchback for you. That is great. You can go in and you can edit this, just pop in the number, and then it's there for you for the comparison purposes as well. Same thing with SMS, if you are making SMS, if you're sending SMS messages, and the same thing with traffic. So if you are one of our clients that is on our tablet program, this traffic area will automatically be updated with the number of check-ins from the VIP event day. Again, however, if you are not using that system, or you think that potentially your stores aren't using it to its full capability, then you can go in here if you have another way that you are measuring traffic and just edit and pop it in. And then it can be used for the comparisons. Now, in the scenario that you would like us to do the matchback, so you would say, okay, SPLICE, I don't have a third-party data company that I am working with, and I want to know how many dollars are associated with the people that we called for this event. Where you need to go is this fancy little green button called Upload Sales. If you click on that, what you will see is that you can just browse and upload or drag and drop a sales data file. So what we need to have in a sales data file to match back to anything, if we are matching back just to the calls, then we need a phone number and we need the sales amount. That is very minimally what we need to do that match back. As you can see in this bottom of the pop-up box here, though, we do have the opportunity to add those other channels. So as I mentioned before, you can self-edit how many emails. You could upload your email send list, and we could automatically update that for you. The nice thing about including additional channels, if you are using additional channels, is that then we have more data to give you guys more insights. So as much data as you guys are willing to share with SPLICE, the more we're going to be able to help you drive additional data insights and create that business value. And so let's say we have the call data because we have that and we need it to do a call campaign, and we have email and we have SMS. So we know all these people that we have communicated with in different channels. Now, as you saw on the landing page of the dashboard, we only, by default on that landing page, are mapping the traffic and sales for calls. However, the SPLICE data team has the capability to do a greater, wider match for you based on like the percentage of traffic driven by each of the channels, as well as the percentage of sales driven by each of the channels. It is something right now that is an additional campaign report. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know, and we'd be super happy to give you a sample of it for free, make sure that it's working, or that it's providing the value that you guys are hoping that it does, and then we can continue to provide that on an ongoing basis. Of course, this is something that is going to be a future improvement to the dashboard, is for it to give you guys more automated insights on the different channels. Currently, you load your data here, and if you have more channels, we will do an additional report analysis for you. So it's still the insight that is available there is currently available. I want to make sure that nobody is gotten down by the fact that it's not shown on that front page. So if you load something, you just click upload. I have not uploaded anything, so I will just X out of here. One other really neat thing about this is anybody who has a portal ID for your organization can see the dashboard. So if, for example, you have multiple departments running campaigns, or you want to make sure that you log comments in case future people or new people might be looking at information on a campaign and it's you want to share that with them and you don't have to be there to do that, we also have this little comments area right at the bottom. So you can leave any kind of comments you want, and then your coworkers could come in and see anything that might be relevant to that campaign. So things that we have noted before is like if someone runs out of a gift because that gift got a huge amount of traffic, sometimes it's based on low traffic, like we've had clients run on Super Bowl Sunday and it just doesn't quite work out, and things like that. So any kind of campaign comments that you have that you do think are either useful for you in the future so you don't have to remember them in your brain, or going to be useful for another member of your team, this comment section is here specifically for that. So that is an overview of what you can see for an individual campaign. Now, of course, that is all well and good, but what is cooler is that we can do a direct campaign-to-campaign analysis to try and understand why something might have been different. So that is where we're going to default to this very left-hand side panel here with the headline dashboard. So let's just take two, for example. So let's look at February 28th and August 8th. Now, it looks like we did approximately the same number of calls, but the sales definitely were better for February than they were for August. And we want to understand how come August did not perform as well as February. So in the left-hand panel here, what you're going to want to do is just click the two campaigns you want to take a look at. So I want to compare February, and very helpfully highlights it for you so you don't click the wrong thing, to August. So I'm going to look at those two and simply click the compare button. And what it's going to do for me is it's going to directly compare all of the same things that we saw on the individual campaign overview directly with each other, so I can try and identify, or you can try and identify, why something might have performed differently. So we have the listenership here, and you can see it tracks pretty much against each other, but the August 8th event had a hang-up period, people hanging up earlier in the message. Now, this is still a pretty good end of the message, but we want to see what in that script potentially allowed for people to think they had listened when they hadn't quite reached the end of the message. So what we see here are then the two scripts side by side. And we read through them, and what we can notice immediately is that we have a different gift. So in February, we have a cozy heated blanket. Sounds very cozy if you're chilly in February. And in August, we have some Italian crystal wine glasses. And so this is now a place where we might be able to say, we want to try and test a gift. So February had a cozy heated blanket. I probably was feeling cold. Potentially the description around that was a little more engaging than just the set of Italian crystal wine glasses. There's also some different language you can see in there in terms of free being called out really obviously instead of like you'll receive. So there's some different language that we were using there, and that might be a good spot to start looking at an A/B test to say, is this actually a thing that is going to increase engagement? Now at SPLICE, we would say in general, the way you say things is going to change your engagement level. So again, probably a good spot to start in terms of testing. If we take a look at any of the other things, let's just assume that we didn't send any emails for August. And so now that is potentially a place where we would want to say, oh, okay, well, we got some better listenership in February, and it's interesting that we sent emails as well. And if you know that you had sent those emails in advance of the calls, then it might have been that people were more familiar with the message, and therefore they were more open to listening to it all the way through. Another thing that's a really great opportunity to look at in terms of A/B testing. So we now have a hypothesis that adding emails is going to increase the listenership. and or we have a hypothesis that adding more like feeling words to a gift description is going to increase our listenership. So then these are things that then we can go and we can specifically test in an A/B test. Now, if you haven't A/B tested with SPLICE before, it's actually going to be our next webinar, so stay tuned for that. But it is something that we do highly encourage, especially for our clients who have been running similar scripts for a very long time. People tend to get used to listening to things, and then one of two things happen. They won't answer the phone, or they will just assume they know what's happening in the rest of the message and not actually listen to it all the way through, which is something that can then cause peaks in drop-off earlier on in the message. So these are always the types of conversations we want to look at having, and we want to look at testing. So we already knew that the sales was down in August. That's why we are looking at this. If you had the traffic in there, that would be another really great thing to look at, because something that we have learned at SPLICE is that there are different scripts that are able to accomplish different things. So some scripts are really great at driving traffic, and other scripts are really great at driving sales. Now that is generally because a specific script is used to target a very specific group, and that specific group comes in and buys lots of things, but it's not a very huge group. So there are things we would want to play with in terms of the traffic. And by being able to look at your campaigns directly against each other and saying, what is different? What do I want to test? How can I make this better for the future? That is when you get the business insights. So you get a hypothesis, you test it out, and then you're going to learn something. That's something that you learn is your insight. So that is really what is going to be able to help you increase your results, increase your traffic, increase your sales, and at least get a very good understanding of what is happening on your VIP program. So one more thing I quickly want to highlight is that this system isn't necessarily built just to compare one campaign to one campaign. You can also compare one campaign to a historical average of your campaigns. So let's say we want to compare that August 8th campaign to all of the other ones that we have done before. Most of you, if you have seen your dashboard, have many more campaigns than this, so you can use your judgment if you want to pick a different year. Just to quickly show you, if you do pick a different year, we'll show you all the campaigns for that specific year. But you can also compare a campaign to a historical average or to a historical August average, if that is something that you have. And you do the same thing, hit the compare button, and then what you're going to see is that's different is that we have the August 8th VIP event here, and it is compared against campaign group B. So campaign group B is all of the other campaigns that have been combined into one. The other thing you'll notice is that you don't see a script. Now, for our VIP customers, we generally have a different script on every event, and that is why you don't see a script, because we're comparing it to a variety of different scripts. So when you are doing a historical average, you do miss out on a couple of things, but again, what you can see is that our average campaign length is the same, the total sales, and then really what you get into is the important stuff, so the average sales. So what you are looking at here, because it's just one campaign, the average sales is the total sales. So you have this total sales amount, and compared to our other campaigns, which are, we actually have lower average sales. So when we look at it this way, we have to say, oh, compared to our historical average, August 8th has compared sales-wise over and above our historical average. That is great. Again, if you have traffic, you'll be able to compare that as well. And then you get some interesting things to look at here too, because then we say, oh, the sales was actually quite good compared to the historical average, but the listenership was almost 10% lower. So what can we look at to test in those scenarios to try and understand, again, like maybe we targeted different people with this campaign. Now, the historical average, I'm just going to tell you right now, is a lot more relevant if you are running full store campaigns all the time. So if you are rotating your stores up and down, and sometimes you do campaigns with 20 stores and sometimes you do campaigns with 12, and it could be a different 20 or 12, then the historical average is not really going to give you that as big of an impact as if you are running an all-store. But if you are running an all-store event, if you've been running an all-store event with SPLICE 4 times a year for the past 3 years, this is going to be a great opportunity for you, because what you can look at is, let's take this February and compare it to the last average of the last 3 Februaries. Then we have a really good idea of what direction we're going in terms of traffic, in terms of sales, and in terms of calls. So all of those things, especially if you have an opt-in program, you always want to be driving for more. You have more calls that you're going to be able to make, you're therefore going to have more sales, and you're also going to have more traffic. So that is the goal. And by looking at that historical analysis in that scenario is really where you're going to find the value in looking at the historical analysis. So that is a high-level overview of the dashboard, and I just wanted to, now I'm just gonna switch it back to the presentation so we can move on to some learnings. I am not sure why it doesn't want to click through. Okay. Just hold on here, everyone. One day I'm going to figure this out. All right. So key takeaways that we're looking at in terms of the dashboard here. A piece of data does not become an insight until it has the potential to generate business value. So business value, always think about that, and try not to leave that part till the end. Try and think about what kind of business value you're trying to drive with your overall program, and then that gives you a good idea of what data you want to track and how you're going to be able to see that business value and test that business value further down the road. Secondly, good data collection practices are a must-have. So I'm just going to call out one of my favorite quotes from Mr. Sherlock Holmes. He says, "Never theorize before you have data. Invariably, you end up twisting facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts." So the exercise we just went through with that dashboard comparison was a side-by-side comparison of facts. And then we are creating theories, or as I refer to them, hypotheses, that suit those facts that then we can test and see whether or not they are true or they are false. And finally, I kind of just said this as well, we want to test. So A/B test your insights to confirm their validity. There are so many factors that are at play in everything that we do. There's internal factors for your customers, there's external factors you've created, there's external factors that others have created, and the A/B testing of those insights is really where you're going to be able to say, yep, this is true for my customers, or no, this is not true for my customers, I need to try again. So on note on that, in terms of A/B testing, you will conduct A/B tests that don't have the outcome you were looking for. So they will either indicate that there is no big statistical difference between two groups, or it'll say, you know what, your hypothesis was totally wrong and it is exactly the opposite of what you thought. The important thing to remember about that is that you have learned something by conducting that test. So you have either learned that it is a factor, either positive or negative, or you have learned that it's not a factor. And you can then take that information and move on to something different and say, I'm going to stop looking at that because I know it's not a factor and I'm going to look at other things. So just remember, when you're A/B testing, if something doesn't reveal itself the way that you had hoped, that does not mean that the A/B test was a failure. That still means you learned something, and therefore you can make better business decisions moving forward. So with that, I will pass it back to Chelsea to facilitate our Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you, Tracy. So as Tracy mentioned, we'd like to open up the floor for any discussion or questions now. So for those of you who haven't already done so, please type your questions in the comment box. It's at the bottom right, and I'll pause for a minute to wait for those questions to come in.
So while you guys are typing in your questions, I do have one, so I'm going to start just addressing what we currently have, and then we'll wait for some more to come in. So the question is, were the offers, quality of offers in the store between these two events the same? The traffic was down around 5%, and that equated to almost 18% in lower sales. Could this be more of a factor than the script? That is a very great question, and I would hope that a lot of you, when looking at things like this, are starting to ask those questions. So that is great. This is a really interesting thing to start looking at as well, because it is not something that is reflected in the SPLICE script. As most of you know, for those main groups, we do not include an offer in the script. Now, kind of on that note, it'd be interesting then to look at a comparison of your EBR group scripts, so that's that existing business relationship, as well as your opt-in scripts, because with those people who are opted in, a lot of you are providing that offer in the message, and that is something that we can legally do once people are opted in. And so comparing those two types of campaigns is also a great opportunity to see the value, the additional value that's being driven by that opt-in group. But this is a great question, and the data that we are specifically looking at right now is a demo. So there is no event that is actually tied to these, but an offer in store is obviously a very big driver of conversions of sales. So if you have an awesome offer, we've had clients that have done like actually their best offer in their history, and in scenarios like that, that is something where you would see that the conversion in the store is looking very good. There's some additional analysis we can do, again, for our tablet customers as well in terms of that conversion. So if you are really confident that like 97% of your people are checking in at that VIP event, and then we have the sales data as part of the dashboard, we can also do like a closing ratio comparison, again, something coming soon to the dashboard, to show you the effectiveness of the transition once you are in the store. So the other thing about this question I would like to address is there's a lot of factors that are driven by the store itself. This can be anything from whether or not people are registering, like registering for the VIP event and logging in on those tablets when they get in. It can be the in-store offer. It can be the way the store is set up. Does it feel like it's a VIP event? Does it feel like it's a different day, or does it feel like it's any other day? It could be your sales staff. They have or have not been trained effectively on how to manage traffic. That is something that we have seen historically as well, is that traffic is too high and the sales teams cannot manage it effectively in the store, and therefore the closing ratio actually goes down because there's too much traffic for the sales force that is on the floor that day to manage. So there are lots of things that can play a factor here, and you would want to make sure that you consider all of those things. As part of a VIP program, we generally recommend to keep the offers consistent, so they're VIP offers, but it is very important if you know that the offers or the offers, the product the offers were on. So if you had a specific offer on sofas and then the next you had like that same offer but it was on all furniture and mattresses, then that difference in offer could definitely drive changes in those campaigns. And again, that's something that then you can test. So if you go in here and you even put that comment in the comments field so you can more accurately track your offers against each other, and you don't always have to go back and keep referencing that, like what were the offers that were associated with these events. Doesn't have all that information there for you, and you can compare it against each other and say, oh, every time I offer 30% off furniture, everybody buys stuff. Cool, great hypothesis. Let's go and test that with like one same event, same time of year, same group of people. So you want to have like the demographics of the group the same in an A/B test and test it out and see if that actually is the truth. And then that's a great way to learn what is your best offer for a VIP event. So yes, great question. Thank you. Chelsea,
Great.
do we have any other come through on your Q&A?
We do. So thank you for that really great answer, Tracy. Lots of details. And our next question will be in regards to the portal itself. So within my account portal, my dashboard does not appear to be turned on. How do I get it turned on, and is there an additional cost?
Yes, so I mentioned it briefly at the beginning. You might see that the dashboard is kind of grayed out for you. That just means that you don't have for your user, your permissions turned on for the dashboard. If you contact me directly, I think most of our clients on this meeting have my direct contact info. If not, you can just reach out to the general SPLICE info. Actually, at the end of this presentation, we're going to show you all my info, so you will have it. Just reach out to me and I can turn it on in a demo environment for you, so you can take a look and kind of journey around and see what you can see. There is an additional cost associated with it. That additional cost is dependent on what other SPLICE programs you are running. So there are discounts for people who are currently running with VIP calls. There's additional discounts that happen for people who are running the tablet program. And so again, I would recommend, instead of me giving you guys fake numbers, contact me directly, and for your individual organization, I will let you know what it costs for the dashboard. It is a monthly fee, so it would be billed monthly, and again, it is based on the desire to want to use this tool on an ongoing basis to learn about your programs. So hence even if, because I know some of you on the call are maybe like a 3-time-a-year SPLICE event type of client, so in that scenario, we want to help you facilitate the use of that year-round so you can continue to make better business decisions in between those events instead of just like at event time.
Perfect. So the second question is, if we're also using SPLICE for outbound SMS campaigns, will the SMS data be automatically populated?
Yes, really good question, because I kind of skimmed over SMS a little bit. Yes, so if we are distributing SMS messages, where you will see that happen is in that first example where I clicked on the bar and it went into the individual campaign view, you will see the count of SMS there. On the main page, even if you are running a SPLICE SMS program, the main page right now is configured for information specifically related to calls, so that SMS matchback isn't by default there. But if you click into the bar, you will see the total number of SMSs sent. And as I mentioned, if you do want to see that breakdown by channel of the event traffic and sales, then again, reach out to us and we'll make sure that that is something that you guys get on a per campaign basis until it is updated on the dashboard.
Great. The next question is in regards to APIs. So the question is, can sales data be integrated and reported on live if we use an API?
Also a good question because I kind of skimmed over APIs. Yes, so the SPLICE Profiles API can facilitate a transfer of sales data. It just needs to be configured. So actually none of the SPLICE clients right now are sending sales data through the API, but it is a way to do it, and it is a way to automatically update your dashboard. So that kind of eliminates the need for a person to give us sales data on a per campaign basis to do that matching. We would just have it, and so we can just automatically do that matching for you. So if you are a SPLICE client with an API and you're interested in not having to manually upload sales data, talk to us and reach out to me. I will bring our tech team into a conversation to facilitate that, and we can just kind of streamline the transition of that sales data.
Perfect. And with our last question in mind, it is, are there templates available for email, direct mail, and SMS data imports if we do not have an API with SPLICE? This might help with streamlining uploads.
Yes, we do have data templates for everything. So what the SPLICE data templates consist of is what data we need in order for us to do the matchback for you to help facilitate that data insight. Now, something important to note on that is anytime you are giving SPLICE data, we work with each of our individual clients to get that data as easily as possible. So if some of you are familiar with the data process, what we do is we ask you just for an export that you could get easily from your system that has the data we need, and then we configure around that. So in terms of the sales analysis, this could mean some people store the data with individual product line items, so that one sales order would have like maybe 5 line items. Some people store it as just one line item with a total sales amount for sales order, and so whatever is most easily accessible from your system is how we can configure our system for those matchbacks. So we do have templates. If you are interested in seeing a template, I can definitely send it over. Again, it is the required data. If you send us extra data, we will just ignore it. Same thing we do with the campaign calls. And so, yeah. We do have templates, but it's also mostly configurable based on the client data.
Perfect.
Hopefully that answers the question.
It does. Yeah, thank you for all of the answers. And that wraps up all the time we have for our webinar today. So everyone, on behalf of SPLICE, Tracy, and myself, thanks for joining us today. As an attendee, you'll receive a follow-up email in the coming week with the webinar recording and slide deck for your reference. If any of your colleagues were unable to join us for today's webinar, please also share this out with them for their resources. Take care.
Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us.